Listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you is going to change everything you thought you knew about Caitlin Clark's future in the WNBA. Because Nike just did something that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. Not the analysts, not the insiders, not even Caitlin herself. And when she found out, her reaction tells you everything. But here's the thing, this isn't just about a shoe deal. This is about something much, much bigger. Something that could reshape women's basketball forever. Something that has every other sneaker brand scrambling behind closed doors right now. And it all started with two words. Two simple words that Nike is betting their entire WNBA future on. Before I tell you what those words are, you need to understand what led up to this moment. Because the path to get here, it was messy, it was frustrating, and honestly, a lot of people thought Nike had completely dropped the ball with Caitlin Clark. Think about it. Here's a player who shattered viewership records in her rookie season. A player who averaged 1.32 million viewers per game while the rest of the WNBA struggled to crack 400,000 without her on the court. A player whose jersey outsold LeBron James, before she even played her first professional game. And what did Nike do with all that momentum? They fumbled hard. The merchandise was mediocre at best. The marketing campaigns felt disconnected from who Caitlin actually is. Fans were frustrated. Critics were laughing. And meanwhile, Caitlin's star kept rising while Nike seemed completely incapable of capitalizing on it. There were whispers in the industry. Some people said Nike didn't understand women's basketball. Others said they were too focused on their legacy male athletes to give Caitlin the attention she deserved. But here's what nobody realized. Nike wasn't sleeping. They were scheming. They were watching, studying, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash something that would make everyone forget every single mistake they'd made. And on Christmas Day, they pulled the trigger. What happened next sent shockwaves through the entire sports marketing world. Because Nike didn't just give Caitlin Clark a shoe deal. They didn't just slap her face on some sneakers and call it a day. No, they did something far more strategic, far more calculated, and far more brilliant than anyone could have predicted. They attempted to own a piece of basketball culture itself. Those two words I mentioned earlier, from anywhere, sounds simple, right? Almost too simple. But when you understand what Nike is really trying to do with this campaign, when you see the intricate web they're weaving across social media, influencers, and mainstream culture, you'll realize this might be the most genius athlete branding move since Be Like Mike. And Caitlin's reaction when she saw the full scope of what Nike had planned? Let's just say it caught her completely off guard. But before we get to that reaction, you need to understand exactly what Nike built here. Because the layers to this strategy go deeper than anyone is talking about. And the first layer? It involves a number that's going to blow your mind. Here's the number that changes everything. 35 feet. That's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That's the distance from which Caitlin Clark regularly launches shots, and makes them with a consistency that defies logic. Most WNBA players consider 22 feet a deep three. The arc sits at just over 22 feet in women's basketball. Anything beyond 25 feet is considered ambitious at best. But Caitlin? She's pulling up from 28, 30, sometimes 35 feet out like it's a layup drill. And Nike looked at that skill, that absolutely absurd, unprecedented range and said, that's it. That's the signature. See, here's what most brands get wrong about athlete marketing. They try to promote the complete player. They list accomplishments. They showcase versatility. They create these polished, corporate campaigns that check all the boxes but connect with absolutely nobody. Nike made that mistake early with Caitlin, and it cost them. But then someone in that building had a revelation. You don't market the complete player. You market the signature moment. The thing that makes people stop scrolling. The thing that makes casual fans who don't even watch basketball suddenly pay attention. For Michael Jordan, it was the tongue-out dunk. For Steph Curry, it was the logo three. For Caitlin Clark, it's shooting from anywhere on the court and making defenders look foolish for not guarding her at half court. From anywhere isn't just a slogan. It's a declaration of war on traditional basketball marketing. But here's where it gets really interesting. Nike didn't just create a tagline and throw some money at TV commercials. That's old school thinking. That's what brands did in 2010. No, what Nike did was engineer a cultural movement. On Christmas Day, and the timing here is absolutely intentional, they launched what they're calling the From Anywhere Challenge. And they didn't start it themselves. They seeded it through influencers, content creators, basketball trainers with millions of followers who can reach audiences that traditional advertising will never touch. Lethal Shooter. You know that name? Over 3 million followers. One of the biggest basketball training personalities on the planet. On Christmas morning, while families were opening presents, he posted a video with the hashtag from anywhere. The Go Jester, another massive sports content creator. Paid partnership. Trick shots from absurd distances. All tagged with the campaign. Within hours, the hashtag was spreading. Within days, it was everywhere. Kids in their driveways attempting ridiculous shots. College players posting their range. High schoolers going viral for half-court makes. And every single one of those videos, every single attempt, every single share, free marketing for Caitlin Clark and Nike. But here's the part that should genuinely scare every other WNBA player and every competing brand. Nike isn't trying to sell shoes with this campaign. They're trying to own a piece of the English language. They want Caitlin range to become common vocabulary. They want kids on playgrounds yelling Caitlin Clark every time they throw up a deep three. They want commentators casually referencing her name when any player attempts a shot from distance. And if that happens, if Nike pulls this off, we're looking at the most valuable women's basketball partnership in history. But there's a catch. A massive catch that could make this whole thing crumble. And it involves something Caitlin has no control over. The catch is this. The entire campaign lives or dies based on one thing. Caitlin Clark's performance. And that should terrify Nike executives just as much as it excites them. Think about it. From Anywhere only works if Caitlin keeps launching those deep threes and making them. It only works if she keeps having those viral moments where she pulls up from 30 feet and the entire arena loses its mind. If she has a sophomore slump, if the three-point shooting regresses, if defenses figure out how to neutralize her range, the whole thing collapses. The hashtag dies. The cultural penetration fades. And Nike is left holding the bag on a campaign that promised revolution but delivered embarrassment. It's a massive gamble. But here's what Nike knows that casual observers don't. They've studied the numbers. They've analyzed every single game from Caitlin's rookie season. And what they found gave them the confidence to bet everything on this strategy. Caitlin Clark averaged 8.4 three-point attempts per game last season. She made 2.8 of them. That's a solid percentage from ridiculous distances. But more importantly, she showed zero hesitation, zero fear, zero backing down from those attempts even when she was cold. That mentality, that unwavering belief in her own range, that's what separates signature players from everyone else. Steph Curry has it. Dame Lillard has it. And now Caitlin Clark has proven she has it at the professional level. Nike isn't gambling blindly. They're making a calculated bet on a player who has already shown she can deliver when the lights are brightest. But here's where Caitlin's reaction comes into play. When Nike first approached her with the From Anywhere concept, sources close to the situation say she was skeptical. Not about the campaign itself, about whether she deserved it. See, that's the thing about Caitlin Clark that people don't understand. Behind the confidence on the court, behind the swagger and the celebrations, there's a player who genuinely wasn't sure if she was ready for this level of branding. She's a rookie, one season in, still learning the professional game, still adjusting to the speed, the physicality, the grind of a WNBA schedule. And Nike walks in and says, "We want to build a cultural movement around you. We want your name to become synonymous with long-range shooting the way Curry's did. We want kids across the world yelling your name when they shoot deep threes." How do you react to that? Most players would immediately say yes. Most players would sign anything put in front of them without hesitation. But Caitlin paused. She asked questions. Hard questions. She wanted to know what would happen if she struggled. She wanted to know how the campaign would affect her teammates. She wanted to understand every single detail before committing. And what Nike told her next changed everything, because they revealed the second phase of the campaign. A phase that nobody outside of Nike's inner circle knew about. A phase that would not only elevate Caitlyn but potentially transform how every WNBA player gets marketed. And when Caitlyn heard this part of the plan, her skepticism vanished. What replaced it was something far more powerful. What replaced Caitlyn's skepticism was pure, undeniable belief. Because Nike didn't just show her a marketing plan. They showed her a vision, a roadmap for what women's basketball could become if the right pieces fell into place. Here's what the second phase involves. Nike revealed that From Anywhere isn't just about Caitlyn. It's about creating a template, a blueprint that could be replicated for other WNBA stars once it proves successful. The idea is simple but revolutionary. If Nike can prove that a women's basketball player can achieve the same level of cultural penetration as male stars, not with adjusted expectations, not with niche targeting, but with a genuine mainstream campaign, they unlock a whole new market. A market worth billions. And Caitlyn Clark is the test case. She's the proof of concept, the pioneer, the one who walks through the door first so others can follow. When Nike explained it that way, when they framed her not just as an individual star but as someone who could change the entire landscape for every woman in professional basketball, that's when Caitlyn fully committed. According to people who were in the room, her exact words were, "I'm in. Whatever you need. Let's do this." But here's what makes this even more significant. Nike showed Caitlyn the numbers, the projections, the internal research they'd been conducting for months. And those numbers revealed something shocking about her rookie season that even Caitlyn didn't fully appreciate. Remember when I mentioned that games with Caitlyn averaged 1.32 million viewers while games without her struggled to crack 400,000? That's not just a stat. That's a seismic shift in women's professional sports. To put that in perspective, some NFL games don't hit those numbers. Some MLB playoff games don't hit those numbers. Caitlyn Clark, a WNBA rookie, was pulling viewership that established men's leagues would envy. But it gets crazier. Nike's research team dug deeper. They analyzed social media engagement across platforms. They tracked merchandise sales by demographic. They studied where Caitlyn's audience was coming from and why they were tuning in. What they discovered was this: Caitlyn Clark wasn't just attracting basketball fans. She was attracting people who had never watched a basketball game in their lives. Casual viewers, international audiences, people who saw a clip of her shooting from 35 feet, went viral, and suddenly wanted to know everything about this player doing things they'd never seen before. That crossover appeal, that ability to attract non-basketball fans, that's the holy grail of sports marketing. It's what made Michael Jordan transcend basketball. It's what made Serena Williams transcend tennis. It's what every brand searches for and rarely finds. And Caitlyn Clark has it naturally. Nike isn't building her appeal from scratch. They're amplifying something that already exists organically. But there's a dark side to all of this that nobody is talking about. A pressure that comes with being the test case. The proof of concept. The one everyone is watching. And Caitlyn is about to feel that pressure in ways she never anticipated. The pressure starts the moment you become the face of something bigger than yourself. And Caitlyn Clark just became the face of an entire movement. Think about what that means. Every game she plays now isn't just a game. It's a referendum on whether women's basketball deserves mainstream investment. Every missed shot, every bad quarter, every off night gets magnified 1,000 times over. Because there are people waiting for her to fail. Not just casual doubters. Not just internet trolls. There are people with serious money and serious influence who need this campaign to flop. Other brands who passed on Caitlyn. Executives who said women's basketball would never command this level of attention. Analysts who built their careers on arguing that the WNBA would always be a niche product. If Nike's bet on Caitlyn pays off, all of those people look foolish. All of their predictions get exposed. All of their assumptions about what women athletes can achieve get shattered. So they're watching, waiting, ready to pounce on any sign of weakness. And the criticism has already started. You've seen it online. The whispers that Caitlyn is overrated. The arguments that her stats are inflated. The constant comparisons designed to diminish everything she's accomplished. She wouldn't dominate in the 90s. Her three-point percentage isn't that impressive. She just gets more media attention because of who she is. Every single one of those criticisms will intensify now that Nike has put this kind of campaign behind her. Every single doubter will feel validated every time she has an off night. That's the burden Caitlin carries. And here's what makes it even harder. She can't respond. She can't engage with the critics. She can't let the noise affect her game because the moment it does, the moment her performance dips, everything unravels. Nike knows this. They've seen it happen before with other athletes who crumbled under the weight of expectations. Stars who shined bright initially but burned out when the pressure became too much. So they built something into this partnership that's never been done before in WNBA marketing. A support system, not just sports psychologists, not just media training. A full infrastructure designed to protect Caitlin's mental health while maximizing her commercial potential. Weekly check-ins, controlled media exposure, strategic rest periods built into her promotional schedule. An entire team dedicated to ensuring she doesn't burn out. Because Nike isn't just investing in Caitlin Clark the player. They're investing in Caitlin Clark the person. And they understand that if the person breaks, the player follows. It's a level of care that most athletes never receive. A recognition that the pressures of modern sports stardom require modern solutions. But even with all that support, there's one challenge Nike can't protect her from. The challenge that every great player faces eventually. Competition. And right now, there's another player rising through the ranks. A player whose name keeps coming up in every conversation about the future of women's basketball. A player who some believe could eventually surpass Caitlin Clark entirely. Her name is Paige Bueckers, and what happens when she enters the WNBA could change everything. Paige Bueckers is coming, and the entire basketball world knows it. She's been called the most talented women's basketball prospect since Caitlin Clark. Some scouts argue she's even more skilled, more polished, more complete as a player. The comparisons have already started. Media outlets are salivating over the potential rivalry. Fans are already picking sides before Paige has played a single WNBA game. And Nike is watching very, very carefully. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody at Nike will say publicly. If Paige Bueckers enters the league and immediately outperforms Caitlin Clark, the entire From Anywhere campaign gets complicated. Not destroyed, not completely undermined, but complicated in ways that could cost Nike millions. See, the campaign is built on Caitlin being the face of women's basketball, the transcendent star, the one everyone thinks of when they imagine the future of the sport. But what happens when there's a second face? A potential rival who captures equal attention? A player who might steal some of that crossover appeal? Nike has already been through this scenario before. Remember when they had both LeBron and Kobe? Both Jordan and Barkley? Managing multiple superstars under one brand is possible, but it requires delicate balance. And right now, all of Nike's eggs are in Caitlin's basket. That's why the timing of this campaign matters so much. Nike launched From Anywhere now, before Paige enters the league, because they need to establish Caitlin's cultural dominance first. They need Caitlin range to become part of basketball vocabulary before anyone else can claim that space. It's a race against time, and Caitlin knows it. Sources say she's acutely aware of Paige's pending arrival. Not threatened by it, she's too competitive for that, but aware of what it means for her legacy and her brand. The two players actually have mutual respect. They've trained together. They've exchanged messages. There's no personal animosity between them, but business is business. And in the business of sports marketing, there can only be one dominant story at a time. Here's what's fascinating about how Caitlin is handling this. Instead of trying to compete with Paige on every front, she's leaning harder into what makes her unique. The deep three, the range that nobody else possesses, the signature skill that's impossible to replicate. Paige Bueckers is an incredible player, arguably more versatile than Caitlin, better defender, more refined offensive game overall. But she doesn't shoot from 35 feet. Nobody does. Nobody except Caitlin Clark. And that's exactly why Nike built the campaign around range. Because range is defensible. Range is unique. Range can't be stolen by the next great player who comes along. Even if Paige becomes the better overall player, and there's a legitimate argument she'll never own the deep three the way Caitlin does. That space belongs to Caitlin Clark. Forever. Nike understood this before anyone else. They saw the competitive landscape shifting and positioned Caitlin in the one place nobody else can touch. But there's another dimension to this rivalry that people aren't discussing. A dimension that involves something far more valuable than basketball statistics. Money. Let's talk about the money. Because the numbers here are absolutely staggering. Caitlin Clark's rookie contract with the Indiana Fever? Around $76,000 per year. That's the WNBA maximum for first-round picks. It's a number that's been criticized endlessly as evidence of the pay disparity between men's and women's professional basketball. But here's what most people don't understand. That salary is almost irrelevant to Caitlin's actual earnings. Her endorsement deals? Estimates suggest she's already making between $3 million and $5 million annually from sponsorships. Some projections put her on track to become the first WNBA player to earn $10 million per year in endorsements alone. And that was before the Nike From Anywhere campaign launched. Now, the sky is literally the limit. Industry insiders are whispering that this new Nike partnership could push Caitlin's total endorsement value past anything we've ever seen in women's basketball. We're talking numbers that rival mid-tier NBA players. Numbers that would have been unthinkable for a WNBA athlete just 5 years ago. And here's what makes this even more significant. Every dollar Caitlin earns changes the conversation for every woman in professional sports. Because when brands see the return on investment that Nike gets from this campaign, they start asking questions. They start wondering if they've been undervaluing women athletes this entire time. They start looking for the next Caitlin Clark to invest in. That's the ripple effect. That's what Nike meant when they told Caitlin she wasn't just building her own brand. She was opening doors for everyone who comes after her. But there's a dark side to this financial explosion that nobody wants to address. Jealousy. It's already brewing within the WNBA. Whispers in locker rooms. Side-eyes in team meetings. Players who have been in the league for a decade watching a rookie command more attention and more money than they've ever seen. Some veterans have been gracious. They understand what Caitlin's popularity means for the league's growth. They see the rising tide that could lift all boats. But others are resentful. They feel like they built the foundation that Caitlin is now standing on. They sacrificed for years, playing in front of half-empty arenas, earning salaries that barely qualified as professional wages. And now this rookie walks in and becomes a marketing phenomenon overnight? It doesn't feel fair to them. And honestly, they're not entirely wrong. The WNBA veterans did build the foundation. They did sacrifice. They did keep the league alive during the years when nobody was watching. But here's the uncomfortable truth. None of that matters to brands. Brands don't invest in history. They don't invest in sacrifice. They invest in eyeballs. They invest in engagement. They invest in players who make people stop scrolling and pay attention. Caitlin Clark does that. Most veterans don't. It's not fair. It's not a commentary on skill or dedication or value as players. It's just business. And that business reality is creating tensions that could affect Caitlin's second season in ways nobody anticipated. The tensions are real, and they're growing. Last season, there were moments on the court that raised eyebrows. Hard fouls that seemed a little too aggressive. Trash talk that felt personal rather than competitive. Veteran players going at Caitlin with an intensity that went beyond normal rookie treatment. Some people dismissed it as standard WNBA physicality. Others saw something deeper, something that looked a lot like resentment manifesting in real time. And now, with the Nike campaign amplifying Caitlin's visibility even further, those tensions are about to intensify. Here's what people don't realize about locker room dynamics in professional sports. Money talks loudly. When one player on a team is making exponentially more in endorsements than the rest of the roster combined, it creates friction. Even if that player is humble, even if that player tries to share the spotlight, the disparity itself becomes a source of tension. Caitlin's teammates at Indiana have been publicly supportive. They've said all the right things in interviews. They've celebrated her success and acknowledged what her popularity means for the franchise. But behind closed doors, sources suggest the dynamics are more complicated. There are players who feel overshadowed. Players who believe their contributions don't get recognized because all the attention flows to one person. Players who wonder why they're grinding through a full season just to be footnotes in someone else's story. It's human nature. It doesn't make them bad people or bad teammates. But it does create challenges that Caitlin has to navigate. And here's where Nike's campaign adds another layer of complexity. From Anywhere is explicitly about Caitlin, her range, her signature skill, her brand. There's no team component. No acknowledgement of the players who set screens for her three-pointers. No mention of the coaches who designed the offensive system that maximizes her shooting. It's all Caitlin all the time. That's how marketing works. Brands invest in individuals, not collectives. But that reality makes the internal dynamics even harder. How does Caitlin walk into practice after a From Anywhere commercial airs nationally, knowing some of her teammates resent the attention? How does she maintain chemistry with players who might feel like supporting characters in her personal story? These are challenges that very few athletes face. Challenges that require emotional intelligence far beyond basketball skills. And by all accounts, Caitlin is handling it remarkably well. She deflects credit constantly in interviews. She praises teammates by name. She goes out of her way to acknowledge veterans who paved the way before her. But there's only so much one person can do when the marketing machine is this powerful. Nike's campaign isn't designed to share the spotlight. It's designed to create a singular icon. And that tension between team basketball and individual branding is going to define Caitlin's entire career. But there's another challenge coming. One that has nothing to do with jealous teammates or media attention. A challenge that could determine whether From Anywhere becomes legendary or forgotten. And it involves something happening overseas. Here's something that should infuriate every international Caitlin Clark fan. You literally cannot buy her merchandise in most countries outside the United States. Think about that for a second. Nike is running a global campaign. They're talking about From Anywhere with international implications. They're using social media influencers who reach audiences across every continent. And yet, if you're a fan in Europe, Asia, Australia, or South America who wants to buy a Caitlin Clark jersey or Nike shoe, good luck. The infrastructure doesn't exist. The distribution channels aren't set up. The products simply aren't available. It's a massive blind spot, a glaring contradiction in Nike's global ambitions. And industry analysts are baffled by it. Some believe it's a calculated decision, that Nike is intentionally limiting supply to create artificial scarcity and drive up demand. It's a strategy that's worked for limited edition sneakers in the past. But others see it as a fundamental failure. A sign that Nike still doesn't fully understand the global potential of women's basketball and is leaving millions of dollars on the table. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Nike is thinking long-term. They're building the cultural foundation now, establishing Caitlin as a global icon through digital content and social media, with plans to expand physical merchandise distribution later. It's a strategy that makes sense on paper, but it's also incredibly risky, because fan enthusiasm doesn't wait forever. The international viewers who are excited about Caitlin Clark right now might lose interest if they can't engage with her brand in meaningful ways. Momentum is everything in marketing, and right now, Nike is letting international momentum slip through their fingers. Here's why this matters for the bigger picture. The WNBA is actively trying to expand globally. They're exploring international games. They're courting overseas broadcast deals. They're positioning women's basketball as a worldwide product. And Caitlin Clark is central to that expansion strategy. If Nike can't figure out how to get her merchandise into international markets, they're not just hurting their own bottom line. They're potentially stunting the growth of the entire league. But sources close to the situation suggest Nike is aware of the problem. And they're working on something major. Rumors are circulating about a dedicated Caitlin Clark product line launching globally within the next 12 months. Not just shoes, but apparel, accessories, training gear. a full lifestyle brand built around her image. If those rumors are true, we're looking at something unprecedented in women's sports. A global merchandise empire centered on a WNBA player. It would validate everything Nike has been betting on. It would prove that women's basketball can command the same international market as men's leagues. And it would make Caitlin Clark one of the most commercially powerful athletes on the planet. But there's one final piece of this puzzle that ties everything together. One moment that will determine whether From Anywhere becomes a cultural phenomenon or just another forgotten campaign. And that moment is coming sooner than anyone expects. The moment that will define everything is already on the calendar. The 2025 WNBA season opener. That's when the world will be watching. That's when every basketball fan, every casual viewer, every critic and supporter will tune in to see if Caitlin Clark can back up the hype. Nike knows this. They've timed everything around it. The From Anywhere campaign isn't just random content being pushed into the void. It's a carefully orchestrated build-up designed to reach maximum cultural saturation right as the new season begins. Every hashtag, every influencer partnership, every trick-shot video flooding social media. It's all leading to one moment. Caitlin Clark stepping onto the court with the entire basketball world watching, launching a deep three from 30+ feet, and burying it like it's nothing. If that happens, when that happens, the campaign explodes. Social media will erupt. The hashtag will trend globally. Every highlight reel will feature that shot with From Anywhere plastered across the screen. And Nike's gamble will officially pay off. But here's what makes this truly special. Caitlin knows the moment is coming. She's been preparing for it all off-season. Sources say she's been in the gym obsessively, working on her range, refining her release, making sure that when the spotlight hits, she delivers. Not because Nike told her to, not because of contractual obligations, because that's who she is. She's a performer, competitor, someone who lives for the biggest moments. And that alignment between Nike's marketing strategy and Caitlin's natural competitive fire is why this partnership works. Nike didn't manufacture a persona for Caitlin Clark. They identified who she already was and built a campaign that amplifies her authentic self. That's the difference between marketing that fizzles and marketing that transforms culture. When it's real, people feel it. And everything about Caitlin Clark shooting From Anywhere is real. So where does this leave us? We're standing at the beginning of something potentially historic. A moment where women's basketball could finally break through the ceiling that's held it back for decades. Not because of politics, not because of social movements, but because one player is so undeniably exciting, so uniquely talented, so perfectly marketable that brands can no longer ignore the opportunity. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be the face of a revolution. She just wanted to play basketball and shoot deep threes. But sometimes history chooses you whether you're ready or not. Nike is betting billions that she's ready. The WNBA is betting its future that she can deliver. And Caitlin Clark? She's betting on herself. The same way she always has. Every time she launches from 35 feet with defenders in her face and cameras capturing every moment. From Anywhere. That's not just a slogan anymore. It's a promise. And if Caitlin Clark has taught us anything, it's that she always keeps her promises. The only question left is this. Are you going to be watching when she proves everyone right? Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.